I've been wanting to start this series for a long time. Not too long ago, I found an interesting publication connected with the New York Times called Midweek Pictorial, which showed all the recent news of the day through photos. I thought this was a good summary of world events week by week. So far, all issues from 1920 to 1925 are available on the Internet Archive, and I'll just start from the first issue. Even though these are week by week, I won't be doing an issue every single week, because I want to focus on other videos too. But I'll go in order and see how far I can go. With that said, the first 1920s issue, which will be covered in this video, was from the first day of the year, meaning that all of the events will be from the last week or two of 1919. So while it's not quite the 1920s, it does set the stage for the beginning of the decade, and for the sake of completion, I wanted to include it. I probably won't include every single thing in each issue, since there are some uninteresting parts, but I mostly just want to include the photos with the captions. If I'm being completely honest, this is not the most interesting issue to start with. But if you're not satisfied, I hope you'll give the next few videos in this series a chance. But I'm gonna stop yapping now and actually get into the video. Midweek Pictorial, January 1st, 1920. Cenotaph to the glorious dead of Czechoslovakia, erected in Václav Square, Prague, the capital of the new republic. The picture was taken on the first anniversary of the revolution that resulted in independence. A mass of floral tributes is shown heaped before the cenotaph, and brilliant lights bring the beautiful structure into relief. Members of the crew of the U.S. transport America being taken ashore under arrest after the vessel's arrival from France. One of the leaders had an IWW card on him. They will be tried by military authorities. A party of Basuto chiefs has recently been visiting London, where they were given every attention. One of them is shown getting ready for air flight. The Kashi, a novel type of steamer, constructed in New Orleans for the French government because it lacked facilities for building it at home. French freight carrier of the Le Prométier type seen from the front at the moment of launching. Memorial of artistic and beautiful design erected at Clarens Montreux in honor of the Allied soldiers who died during their internments in Switzerland in period covered by the World War. Herewith are shown two recent innovations in Germany. One is the Republican German eagle approved as the new coat of arms of the German Republic. The other is a new type of airmail postage stamps. United States transport Buford, which left New York Harbor on the morning of December 21st, carrying 249 Reds sentenced to deportation by the United States authorities because of their advocacy of the overthrow of the government by force. The radicals were embarked early in the morning to prevent any demonstration or attempt at rescue by sympathizers. Ethel Bernstein, one of the women radicals deported in the Soviet Ark on December 21st. Dora Lipkin, one of the most obdurate and irreconcilable leaders of revolutionary movement. Thomas Bukhanov, youthful agitator who has been an omnivorous reader of anarchistic literature. Peter Bianchi, one of the most intellectual and dangerous leaders of the deported Reds. Alexander Berkman and Emma Goldman, two of the most dangerous radicals in the United States, whose activities for many years past have kept the agents of the Department of Justice busy in the attempt to thwart them. They were to have been deported 2 weeks earlier, but were granted a stay, which, however, proved ineffectual. Marcus Avadovsky, one of the deported radicals, photographed on the eve of the Buford's departure. Abe Brooke, one of the New York radicals who has been active in disseminating anarchistic literature. M. Stefanuk, prominent in the activities of the Soviet government instituted by Reds on Ellis Island. Alex H. Schatz, one of the 249 revolutionary agitators deported to the land from which he came. Hyman Purkis, who has been prominent in speech and action for the revolutionary cause. Michael Kravchuk, a foremost worker in the Society of the Friends of Russian Freedom. Group of radicals photographed at Philadelphia while they were on their way to Ellis Island to be deported. The present roundup includes revolutionary agitators brought from all sections of the country. Arrival of a group of Reds at Jersey City. They were gathered in by the Department of Justice at Pittsburgh, and are here shown boarding the barge which was to carry them to Ellis Island to await deportation. USS Virginia entering the biggest dry dock in America at Boston, Massachusetts on the occasion of the opening of the dock, December 22, 1919. The dock is so large that it seems to dwarf the mighty vessel. Two 11,000-ton ships in the new construction dry dock at Puget Sound Navy Yard. This great dry dock at Bremerton, Washington, had water let into it for the first time December 16, 1919. The two ships are the ammunition vessels Pyro and Nitro. Each is 482 feet long, 61 feet beam, and 21 feet draft. They were constructed entirely within the dock, and launched by letting water into the dock, instead of sliding down the shipways into the water, as is the usual practice. The dry dock shown at the top of the page is the largest in America. It was opened December 22, 1919. It is 1,170 feet long, and 114 feet 9 inches at the bottom. Depth over the sill at low water is 35 feet. It is capable of holding the largest dreadnoughts in service or under construction. 4 structures the size of the Washington Monument could be placed in the dock at the same time, and yet have plenty of room. Polish infantry in review at Warsaw, Poland. The discipline and morale of the new troops are said to be excellent. The war did not cease as far as Poland was concerned at the signing of the armistice. She was still threatened on several fronts by strong hostile forces. The Germans were bitter on account of the cession of so much of their western territory to the new Republic of Poland, and did all they could to delay the carrying into effect of the provisions of the armistice. The Bolshevists were pressing the Poles, and there were clashes with Ukrainians and Czechoslovaks. General Joseph Pilsudski, head of the Polish Republic, inspecting the guard of honor in the yard of the castle of Posen. Posen was especially desired by the Poles because it was the center of a large Polish population which had lived for years under the harsh rule of Germany. It is a rich province, and for that reason its surrender was bitterly resisted by Germany. Premier Paderewski, when he appeared before the peace conference in Paris on September 5th, declared that the Germans, defeated on the west, had now turned eastward in the hope of achieving victory. The white uhlans of the Polish army defiling before General Pilsudski at the castle of Posen. This is one of the crack divisions of the Polish cavalry, and an idol of the populace. Polish artillery moving into action on the Bolshevist front. Poland had 1,500 miles of front to protect against Bolshevist inroads, and here, as in centuries before, she has stood as the bulwark of Europe against invasion from the east. Her task was made the harder because of the tacit alliance between the Bolshevists and the Germans, the latter, according to Premier Paderewski, pushing Bolshevism forward in every possible way to embarrass Poland. The Poles, however, won sweeping victories against the Bolshevist forces. Graves of Finnish officers killed in the retaking of Helsingfors from the Bolshevists. The Finns have an excellent army, and have done good work in keeping back the tide of Bolshevist invasion. At present, military operations have been suspended, but negotiations are proceeding for Finnish aid to Udenich. General Eberhardt, commander of the German Iron Division that has sought to hold the Baltic provinces. General Udenich, defeated at the very gates of Petrograd, and now reorganizing the greater part of his army in Estonia. He expects soon to renew his offensive. Polish armored train on the Ukrainian front. The train is excellently equipped and has rendered sterling service. General Mannerheim replying to an address in the Cathedral Square, Helsingfors, at the celebration of the liberation of the Finnish capital from the Bolshevists. Mannerheim is the strong man of Finland. The discipline maintained in his armies is of the strictest kind, and he has welded them into a powerful fighting force. Inhabitants of a typical Lithuanian town, parading in celebration of the nation's independence. Lithuania has had a hard struggle with the Bolshevists on one side and the Germans on the other, but has managed to maintain her hardly won freedom. Count Avalov Bermont, ally of von der Goltz, who assumed command of troops after the latter had been recalled to Berlin. Bolshevist leaders escaping from Helsingfors in the ex-Tsar's yacht, just before the city was recaptured by the White forces. Cossack troops reconnoitering on the front of Denikin's anti-Bolshevist army. The Cossacks are horsemen without peers, and in the vast stretches of Russia where railroads are few or non-existent, are an invaluable arm of the service. General Denikin, most formidable opponent of the Soviet regime, who has been operating with Moscow as objective. General Gaida, Czechoslovak leader, who did great work against Bolshevists, but later mutinied against Kolchak. British tank that has been transferred to Denikin's front to aid his army. The tanks have proved of great service against the Bolshevist forces, who have had nothing of equal strength to oppose to them. Part of one of the better fighting units of Kolchak's army. The men are excellent soldiers, but as the picture shows, are miserably equipped. Their clothes are full of holes, their shoes are in wretched condition. It is said that 10% of the army are barefooted, and their hats are of all assortments and shapes. Map of Russia and Siberia, with special reference to the situation in the Baltic provinces, the operations of Denikin's forces, and the advance of the Bolshevists beyond Omsk. The Lamp-Ald gas well on fire at Snake Hollow near McKeesport, Pennsylvania, December 18, 1919. There has been a wonderful find of natural gas in this place, and fortunes are being made overnight. It promises to be the greatest gas field in America. Derricks are a common enough sight in gas fields, but it is seldom they are shown in such close proximity to houses as in this picture. The whole town of Snake Hollow has gone wild with excitement over the discovery that wealth beyond computation lies under the surface of their town, and that the backyard of any one of them may be worth a fortune. Many are making thousands of dollars a day. Men at Snake Hollow trying to put out the fire of one of the recent gushers. With a long pipe, they are trying to knock the cap off the well so that they can get at the fire better with steam. Some are holding up pieces of sheet iron in order to protect themselves against the intense heat. Tennessee, one of the largest and most powerful battleships in the world, being equipped and made ready for service at the Brooklyn Navy Yard. She was launched April 30th, 1919. Looking down on the deck of the Tennessee. She is 624 feet long and 96 feet wide. Her displacement is 32,000 tons. She has had an indicated horsepower of 28,000 and a speed of 21 knots. She is exclusively oil-burning and electrically driven. Her crew will consist of 58 officers and 1,024 men. Eamon de Valera, Provisional President of the so-called Republic of Ireland, who is now in Washington after several months' tour of the country. He has been engaged in raising a loan. Ian Macpherson, Chief Secretary for Ireland, who in the House of Commons on December 9th revealed the fact that an attempt had been made to assassinate him. It was stated that as he was leaving his house to go to the Vice-Regal Lodge, 3 or 4 rifle shots were fired from behind at his car. He believed that the shots were fired by a bribed sentry. Viscount French, Lord Lieutenant of Ireland, whom an attempt was recently made to assassinate. Map of Ireland with special reference to the political complexion of various sections, as shown in the election of December 1918. The key to the map shows what parts are dominated by Sinn Féiners, Nationalists, and Unionists, respectively. In the election of 1918, 73 constituencies were carried by the Sinn Féiners, 6 by the Nationalists, and 26 by the Unionists. The total votes cast were Sinn Féiners 971,945, Nationalists 235,206, Unionists 308,713. The feeling between the warring factions in the island seemed to have lost nothing in bitterness. A good many of the small police stations in County Clare, Ireland have been closed recently because of frequent raids made on them by the revolutionary element. In place of the policemen, soldiers have been called in. One here is shown on guard. Notice the barbed wire to thwart sudden attacks. Some of the weapons recently taken in raids on revolutionary headquarters. This old barracks has been recently reinforced. There are inner doors of steel, as well as steel windows, steel shutters, and loopholes for rifles. Whippet tanks that have seen service on Western Front, now used in patrolling County Clare, Ireland. One of the armored cars, fully armed and ready for instant service, passing Ennis Bridge in County Clare. The disorders in this county have been so numerous and severe that the county has been placed under military control. One of the fortified police barracks in Ireland that suggest almost a state of civil war. In addition to ample guns, VV lights are furnace to summon assistance if attacked. Loopholes for rifles are seen close to the ground,